Security footage shows a golden retriever barking frantically at a closed bathroom door for 47 minutes straight. The family thought he'd lost his mind. But when they finally broke down that door, they found their teenage daughter collapsed on the floor, unconscious, with no pulse. What happened in the next 90 seconds defied everything veterinarians said was possible, and the timestamp on that camera became the difference between life and death. Before we reveal how this loyal companion did the impossible, smash that like button and subscribe. The Henderson house sat quiet on Maple Street, ordinary in every way except one. Inside, a 3-year-old golden retriever named Max paced the hallway, his nails clicking against hardwood, his breath coming in short, anxious huffs. It was 2:47 p.m. on a Tuesday. Sarah, their 16-year-old daughter, had gone into the bathroom 20 minutes earlier. She'd said nothing, closed the door softly, locked it from the inside. Max sat outside immediately, head tilted, ears forward, waiting. 5 minutes passed, then 10. His tail stopped wagging. His body went rigid. Then he started barking. Max hadn't always belonged to the Hendersons. 2 years ago, he was found abandoned in a parking lot. Matted fur, ribs showing, eyes dull with neglect. The shelter called him unadoptable, too anxious, too attached, too broken. But Sarah saw something different. She was 14 then, struggling with her own darkness that her parents didn't fully understand yet. She begged them for weeks. "He needs me, Mom. Please." Jennifer Henderson finally agreed. Thinking a dog might help her daughter smile again, Max bonded with Sarah instantly. He slept beside her bed, followed her from room to room, pressed his nose against her hand when she cried at night. Her parents noticed he never left her side during her worst days, the ones where she barely got out of bed. "He's clingy," her father David said once. "He's protective," Sarah corrected softly. She was right, but no one knew just how protective until that Tuesday afternoon. Jennifer was in the kitchen, chopping vegetables, when the barking started. Sharp, relentless, desperate. "Max, quiet," she called out. He didn't stop. She wiped her hands, irritated, and walked toward the hallway. Max stood at the bathroom door, barking so hard his entire body shook. His paws scratched at the wood. His eyes were wild. "Max, enough!" She knocked on the door. "Sarah, can you let him in?" Silence. "Sarah?" Still nothing. Jennifer's stomach twisted. She knocked harder. "Sarah, answer me right now." Max's barking turned into howls, raw, guttural, the sound of an animal in agony. David ran up the stairs. "What's going on?" "She's not answering. The door's locked." They looked at each other, then at Max, who had stopped barking and was now clawing frantically at the doorframe, whimpering between breaths. David's face went pale. It took 3 hard kicks. The lock splintered. The door swung open. Sarah lay crumpled on the tile floor, lips blue, skin ashen. An empty pill bottle rolled into the corner. Jennifer screamed. Max shot past them like lightning. David dropped to his knees, hands shaking as he checked for a pulse. "I can't find it. I can't." Call 911, Jennifer sobbed, grabbing her daughter's limp hand. Max didn't wait. He pressed his entire body against Sarah's chest and started pushing, hard, rhythmic, again and again. "Max, move!" David yelled, trying to shove him aside to start CPR. But the dog wouldn't budge. He pushed harder, his paws pressing into her sternum with shocking force, his head lowered, his entire weight focused on her chest. "David, Jennifer's voice broke. "He's doing compressions." They stared, but before we continue our story, let's pause for a moment and invite you to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. All done? Thank you from the bottom of our hearts. Your support is what helps our channel grow. Let's continue. 30 seconds passed. Sarah didn't move. Max barked once, sharp and commanding, then went back to pushing. His eyes never left her face. Jennifer held Sarah's head, tears streaming. "Please, baby, please." Then a cough. Weak, shallow. Sarah's eyes fluttered. Max barked again, softer this time, and licked her face frantically as her chest began to rise and fall on its own. "She's breathing," David gasped. "She's breathing." The paramedics arrived 4 minutes later. They found Sarah conscious, confused, and alive. Max refused to leave her side, even as they lifted her onto the stretcher. One of the EMTs, a veteran with 20 years of experience, just shook his head in disbelief. "I've never seen anything like that," he murmured. At the hospital, doctors stabilized Sarah. She'd taken a dangerous overdose, enough to stop her heart within minutes. The timeline was critical. "If you'd found her even 5 minutes later," the ER doctor told Jennifer and David, "we wouldn't be having this conversation." Jennifer couldn't stop crying. He knew before we did. When they reviewed the security camera footage later that night, the truth became undeniable. Max had started barking the moment Sarah locked the door, 47 minutes before they broke it down. He'd sensed something wrong immediately. And those compressions? The vet they consulted was stunned. "Dogs don't do that naturally," she explained. "It's not instinct. He must have observed CPR at some point, maybe on TV, maybe in person, and somehow understood it was connected to saving someone." David remembered then. Months earlier, Sarah had been watching a medical drama while Max lay beside her. There was a CPR scene. Max had lifted. "He learned it," David whispered. "He learned it for her." Sarah spent a week in the hospital. Max visited every single day, special permission granted after the staff heard what he'd done. He'd lie beside her bed, head on her lap, eyes watchful. She cried the first time she saw him. "I'm sorry," she whispered into his fur. "I am so sorry." Max just pressed closer, tail wagging slowly. Sarah began therapy, started medication, joined a support group. The road was long and painful, but she walked it. And Max walked every step beside her. Her parents learned to see the signs they'd missed: the withdrawn behavior, the fake smiles, the exhaustion behind her eyes. They learned to ask the hard questions. "We almost lost you," Jennifer said one night, voice breaking. "If Max hadn't been there." "But he was," Sarah said quietly, running her fingers through his golden fur. "He's always been there." 6 months later, Sarah stood in front of her high school to share her story during Mental Health Awareness Week. Max sat beside her on stage, calm and steady. She spoke about the darkness, the moment she thought there was no way out, and the dog who refused to give up on her. "He didn't just save my life that day," she said, voice strong despite the tears. "He's been saving it every day since." The auditorium was silent, except for the sound of tissues being pulled from pockets. The Henderson family never goes a day without thanking Max. He's no longer just a pet. He's the reason their daughter is alive. The security footage, timestamp and all, was shared with their permission to help other families recognize warning signs. It's been viewed millions of times. The comments are filled with similar stories. Animals who sensed danger, who refused to leave, who somehow knew when humans needed saving. Sarah is 19 now, thriving in college, studying to become a therapist. Max, now 5 years old, still sleeps beside her bed every night she's home, still watches her with those same protective eyes, still presses close when the darkness creeps back in. Because he knows something the rest of us are only beginning to understand. Love doesn't need words, protection doesn't need training, and sometimes the most heroic thing you can do is simply refuse to let go. If this story moved you, please like, share, and subscribe. Share it with someone who needs to know they're not alone. Share it with someone who